Good evening, everyone. I'm James Evans. I'm the CEO of the Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation, and I want to welcome you all here tonight. And I want to steal a line from Eric Lindblad, who's here tonight. Oh, baby, what a year to remember. It is so great to see all of you here tonight, and those of you who are joining us on Facebook Live. On behalf of our Board of Trustees and our staff at SCCF, Sanibel Sea School, and Coastal Watch, I want to welcome you to our annual meeting. Thank you, Sanibel Harbor Marriott, for hosting tonight's meeting, and we all wish we could be on the islands tonight, but that was not possible. And instead, we are here at Punta Rasa, a location that has bridged the mainland with our islands since ferry service began nearly a century ago. Before we get started, I want to recognize our Sanibel City Council members, which are probably stuck in traffic at this time, because I know they had a City Council meeting that ran a little late, and I would imagine most of them are lined up on the causeway right now. But if you are here tonight, as I recognize you, I'd like you to stand. Mayor Holly Smith, are you here? All right. Vice Mayor Richard Johnson. There he is. Well, thank you for that update. Councilman Scott Crater, I know he couldn't be here tonight. He ran out of bandwidth with the council meeting and other commitments. So, Councilman Mike Miller, where are you? In traffic. And Councilman John Henshaw, I know he couldn't be here. He had an engagement out of the state. And I just want to, thank you for being here tonight, first of all, and for your strong leadership that you are providing in the recovery of our sanctuary islands. And we know that through your leadership, the Sanibel Vision Statement will hold true, as Sanibel is and shall remain a barrier island sanctuary, one in which a diverse population lives in harmony with its natural wildlife and natural habitats. And, thank you for keeping that spirit alive, especially in these challenging times. So thank you again. I know it's tough, and I know you guys are fighting hard to keep Sanibel. Thank you for all that you're doing. I also want to recognize the Captiva Community Panel. Any members of the panel that are here tonight, could you please stand when I call your name? Jay Brown. David Mintz. Where are you, David? Thank you, David. Mike Lanigan. Tony Lappy. Ann Brady. Ken Gill. John Jensen. Linda Laird, Bruce McDonald, Sandy Stillwell, and Bob Walter. I wanted to hear all those names because, as with the Sanibel Plan, the Captiva Community Plan focuses on the protection of our barrier island resources, and I know that the panel will continue to uphold the principles of the plan that makes Captiva so special for our wildlife, our residents, and our businesses. Thank you for your leadership. And aside from the 1960s and 70s, there has never been a time more important than now to remain vigilant against the external development pressures that exist. I want to thank our community leaders for standing strong in the face of those tremendous challenges that threaten our wildlife, our way of life, and our local economy. There's a quote from the letter that Don Rice and I prepared for the annual report prior to the storm, which I think is very fitting for this time. There is no question that the conservation spirit continues to glow brightly on our islands and is a beacon of hope for future generations. It is because of all of you, our leaders, our residents, our businesses, our members, and our supporters, that the conservation spirit continues to glow brightly. Thank all of you for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. You guys give yourself a round of applause, because without you, the city and the Captiva Community Panel would not be able to remain vigilant and protect the things that we all care about. So now I'd like to introduce our Board of Trustees. If you are here tonight, I would ask you that you please stand as I call your name. President Don Rice, hold on one second, let me move to the slide. I know President Don Rice is joining us remotely from Charlotte, North Carolina, and he will provide some remarks later in the program. But as I read your name, please stand. Ann Nobles, Vice President. Rand Niehoff, Secretary. John Rao, Treasurer. I know they're not here tonight, so if you're looking around, they're not here. Bob Brooks, I know you're here. Thank you, Bob. Laura DeBruce, I know you're here tonight. Meg Doss, where are you, Megan? Right there in the back. Sandy Gross, are you here tonight? I don't see Sandy. Nick Kaki, I saw you earlier today. Thank you, Nick. Tom Livinati, are you here tonight, Tom? Nope. Jill McCormick, I know you're here. Where are you? Thanks, Jill. Dick Pyle, are you here? Doesn't look like it. Chip Roach, I know you're here. Where are you? Right there. Excellent, Chip. Laura Schaefer, did you make it through the traffic? No? All right. And we've got Christine Samancic. Where are you? Thank you, Christine. Thank you all for being here tonight. I also want to ask all of our past presidents and trustees that are here with us tonight to also please stand. And finally, I want to recognize CEO Emeritus Eric Lindblad and his wife Ellen, who are also here with us tonight. Eric and Ellen, please stand. All right, so despite the recent challenges we have faced, your hardworking trustees, dedicated staff, and an army of amazing volunteers and steadfast partners have accomplished a great deal over the past year. It would be easy for us to allow the events of the past 2 months to overshadow the amazing work that we have been able to accomplish this year. So I wanted to mention just a few of the many achievements that we've been able to complete this year. We welcome new staff members to the SCCF family. Coastal Resilience Manager Dr. Carrie Schumann, I know Carrie's here tonight. We've got Environmental Policy Director Matt DePaulis, I know Matt couldn't join us tonight. Marketing Coordinator Denise Blau, back over there, handling our Facebook Live feed. Marketing Coordinator, C-School Educators Annie Clinton and Austin Weiss, I know you're here tonight in the middle there. Mike Mills returned as a field biologist once again. He keeps coming back and we keep welcoming him. And he just completed his master's degree, so everybody give Mike Mills a round of applause. And Aaron White returned as a shorebird technician. Thanks for being here tonight. And welcome to the team. I know you've been indoctrinated in through a rigorous program of training, of cleaning debris and cleaning homes, so thank you. Our collaboration with the University of Florida's Center for Coastal Solutions resulted in groundbreaking research on the link between human nutrient sources and red tide blooms, changing the way we approach harmful algal blooms in our region. Our sea turtle biologists and volunteers monitored nests throughout another active season and conducted critical research on impacts of red tide and beach renourishment on hatchling success. We celebrated the 20th anniversary of our shorebird monitoring program. The Sanibel Sea School provided meaningful experiences for thousands of children in the region, immersing them in the wonders of our oceans and reaching underserved, that could have gone really bad, underserved communities through scholarships and our No Child Left on Shore program. Thank you. Our policy and advocacy work on the Lake Okeechobee System Operating Manual, many know it as LOSM, is changing the way water will be delivered to our coast. And our coastal resiliency efforts in partnership, yep, it does deserve a round of applause. And I'll also mention that Senate Bill 2508, which would have undermined all of the work that we did on LOSM, was defeated, and the governor vetoed that bill this year. And it was because of you, our policy team, and many of our other partners throughout the region that made that happen. So that's an important note. Our coastal resiliency efforts in partnership with the Captiva Erosion Prevention District and the city of Sanibel are making our communities more resilient to the impacts of climate change. And we are leading by example on renewable energy and implementing solar and energy conservation measures in our new facilities. Coastal Watch and our army of enthusiastic volunteers planted thousands of mangroves and placed tons of oyster shell, literally tons of oyster shell, to restore mangrove islands throughout Pine Island Sound. And land conservation remains a top priority. And restoration efforts continue to protect and enhance habitat for wildlife, including preservation of important wildlife habitat along Dixie Beach Road and McGregor Boulevard, and the ongoing restoration of the Gretchen C. Valade Preserve and the Pouchel Preserve. And of course, our post-Ian recovery efforts, which I will talk about later in the program. As we work through the agenda, you will notice that we will not be having the Brush of Excellence presentation tonight. Unfortunately, due to Hurricane Ian and everything that everybody is going through, we really would not be able to do that justice, and the new winner, we'd not be able to do the new winner justice of this prestigious award. And so we will be delaying that announcement for a year, and we will bring that back at next year's annual meeting. So with that, the next item on our agenda is the Treasurer's Report. And unfortunately, John Rao is not here. Treasurer John Rao is not able to be with us tonight. So I will be giving you a Treasurer's Report tonight. All right, smooth transition. All right, so I'm just going to read through some of these points. John and I had an opportunity to discuss the Treasurer's Report. And overall financial strength of SCCF remains solid in the face of challenges from COVID overhang, and it's overhung for a long time. The ongoing weak equity market, of course. We've all seen our stock portfolios decline through the markets. And now, of course, Hurricane Ian. Total assets exceed 40 million with no long-term debt, and total liabilities are less than 1 million. SCCF benefits from strong stewardship of its endowment committee with independent oversight of investments and biannual reviews with portfolio managers with targeted benchmarks. SCCF generated a profit and loss surplus of $273,000 for 2022. 2022 revenues grew by 16% versus prior year on the strength of special events revenue, the recovery of education tuition income, and higher grants, partially offset by lower bequests. And of course, this past year we had a number of really great events, including the first year of our Cause on the Causeway event, which generated almost $500,000. So thanks to you and our donors and supporters, you have really helped to keep us moving forward and fund this great organization. Expenses also grew faster, primarily on budgeted management objectives for new positions and targeted salary increases. And our fiscal year 2023 is on track through October with revenue slightly better and expenses flat versus plan. Ian has created new challenges, and we still face some significant headwinds in fundraising from our uncertain economy. But we remain cautiously optimistic as the team has already achieved momentum with remediation of our buildings, of course, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit, insurance recovery actions, and a line of sight to low-cost funding opportunities as we move forward. We've investigated SBA loans, the Small Business Administration loans, and we've also put in applications for FEMA. So hopefully we'll be able to recover some of these losses as we move forward. And just to look at our profit and loss statement here, summary, you'll notice that in fiscal year 2022, we $4.8 million in revenue. In fiscal year 2021 was $4.1 million with a variance of about $685,000. You'll notice that that makes the variance is made up of our special events revenue, education through our Sandoval C School, grants, bequests, and of course everything else that's thrown into that pot. So variance of $685,000. As we go through our expense side here, you'll notice that our budgeted new hires was $809,000. Grant expenses, $179,000. Of course, that is balanced by the increase in revenue of our grants. Physical plan expenses were $104 million. Education, retail, 86, and everything else. So as you can see here, we're in a pretty good spot. Overall, we're fiscally sound. And with that, I'll leave that to you to ponder as we move on to the next agenda item. All right, so Don Rice will be joining us tonight through a video message that he has pre-recorded. So if we could go ahead and cue up Don's remarks.
Good evening, everyone. It's delightful to be with you, even though it's remotely. And I'm looking forward to a very good meeting and hearing a lot about the wonderful challenges and opportunities that SCCF has undertaken in this year. And I'd like to go over there a few of those now, if I could. This has been a year of challenges for us. James Evans joined us as our successor CEO to Ryan Orgera in January. So we had a leadership transition. I do think that created a number of terrific opportunities for the organization. We were able to expand the roles and accountabilities of many staff people. And James moved to a more collegial and collaborative approach to mission fulfillment. You know, we live in a political and regulatory environment in the work we do, and we certainly had some challenges in that area as well. We took a leadership role on LOSUM, the new Lake Okeechobee operating system. Our science-based advocacy has earned first rank order and respect throughout Florida. And our collaborations with environmental and government organizations have served us and our area very well. We were blessed to merge with the C School now 3 years ago, and we've been able to build strength and depth in our educational offerings as a result of that. The renewal of the C School after 2 challenging years of pandemic management enabled us to re-welcome thousands of young people to our shores where many of them have their first experience of the water. And we've also broadened our adult educational opportunities as well. We were and are a land trust. SCCF was born more than half a century ago with a mission to acquire, protect, and preserve Sanibel. And today we're the largest private landowner on the island, and with our partners, now 2/3 of Sanibel, as you know, is in conservation. And 2022 was an equally good year for that. The Buchel Preserve along Periwinkle Way being the most prominent example. But there were others where we took the opportunity to acquire land contiguous to properties we already had or in sensitive areas, which enables us to enhance the protection of Sanibel and Captiva. We invested in our marine science capabilities, which are a cornerstone to SCCF's credibility as an advocate for our environment in our region. We renewed our recon program. Our sensors had aged. Many great donors contributed to that renewal. And the University of Florida partnership, which Ryan originated last year, gained strength as we continue to collaborate with their scientists in discovering environmental solutions to the challenges that we face. Our sea turtle and shorebird programs continued to flourish. I always remark on those because they are frequently the entry point for hundreds of people who become SCCF supporters over time as they are out there at 5 o'clock in the morning or midnight or whenever looking after those creatures which we all value so much. But we're renewing our facilities and focusing them on emerging requirements here. We're restoring the Nature Center and converting it into a headquarters, which will serve to enable the collaboration that we are trying to accomplish across all the aspects of SCCF's work. We're building housing capacity for more interns and to create space for scientists, visiting scientists from the University of Florida and elsewhere who are collaborating with our scientists in environmental work. Finally, I know you thought I'd say something about the hurricane. I saved that for last because I'd asked the question, what challenges really take the measure of an organization's effectiveness? Which will be the event which defines the organization's purpose, leaders, and people? And when the time comes, how will that organization, its leaders, its people, perform in the face of a challenge of a unprecedented scale, scope, and intensity. Well, Hurricane Ian, by any standard, presented just that kind of challenge. Now, later, James is going to talk about all the work that's been done by SCCF since September 28th, and you're going to have the opportunity to look at a riveting video which shows how SCCF, its leaders, its people, address this challenge. I simply want to declare our SCCF, our leaders, our team performed magnificently and continue to perform with great courage, competence, and commitment. This is borne out over half of a century of service to our environment, our community, and our people. We are where we are today, and we have the strength we have because of our legacy of work, our selfless dedication to the task at hand, and in today's particular circumstances, the sacrifice and personal losses that our phone folks have suffered. At the same time, they remain committed to our conservation mission. They have demonstrated the competence to do the work to apply skills and experience in a very hostile environment. And their commitment to our natural world, our community, our neighbors, demonstrates the highest order of selfless service to all. Today, I'm concluding a term as president of the board at SCCF. I want to express my profound thanks to my fellow trustees, our staff leaders and team members, our hundreds of volunteers, our donors. It has been a great honor and privilege to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. I know Don is watching on Facebook Live right now, as are many of our trustees that couldn't make it here tonight. So thank you, Don. Excellent remarks. Appreciate it. And very, very well done. Thank you, Don. All right. So the next item on our agenda is our SCCF Legacy Society. And I would like to invite Cheryl Giattini to join me at the podium.
Hello, lots of people I know. Before I get to the job at hand, I am happy to see some new faces tonight and would love to see a show of hands. Who is at their first annual meeting tonight? I see many of you. So let me tell you about the annual meeting 2023. You're going to get there by driving down Periwinkle Way. You are going to see lots of pretty lights and holiday decorations. You are going to be amazed at how many businesses have reopened. You're going to pull into the Periwinkle Homestead Preserve and be so grateful that that beautiful building still stands. You're going to gather inside the wonderful, beautiful pavilion that Eric Lindblad managed to find Amish people to create for us. And that pavilion that the Amish people created, thanks to funding from the Puchels and the Roths and the Lagorces, is still standing. And we'll all get back there. And you're going to gather and you're going to say, oh, the Marriott was so nice to welcome us, but this is so much better. And then you're going to say, oh, look, there's Leslie Adams, and she's not sitting in a chair. She's working her tail off, catering. So stand up, Leslie. This is a lady who needs your business right now and for the rest of the year. So. Enjoy. So that's next year. But now we're at this year. So let me not hold this up any further because I have some nice people to tell you about. So I am here to say a few words about SCCF's endowments and to present our new Legacy Society members. The endowment funds have grown significantly over the years and now are valued at just under $7 million. In 1998, Eric Lindblad hired me to increase the endowments to $10 million. So eventually, I will reach that goal, and I'll let you know. But thanks to your help, we're getting closer and closer. I am very grateful to the Endowment Committee under the chairmanship of Doug Reichman, who's with us here tonight. They have done an incredible job of managing that growth over the years. And in the course of that time, it was suggested that we create the Legacy Society so that we could recognize those who have helped us through either outright gifts or planned gifts to increase the endowment to support the programmatic work of the organization. I just want to mention a few because they're here tonight. Those include Roberta and Philip Puchel, who through their annual gifts to the Francoise Puchel Memorial Fund have made it the largest single family fund within our endowment. So thank you to Philip and Roberta. It's hard to see people up here, but I see you back there. I also want to recognize Deborah Lagorce, who with her family has made multiple gifts to the Lagorce Family Intern Housing Fund, including very generously doing so again this year. So thank you, Deborah. Since the last annual meeting, we received bequests from Sally Siegenthaler-Lichtenstein and Beverly Ball, who had both previously been inducted into the Legacy Society during their lifetimes. I'm very happy to tell you that although we miss them both dearly, Beverly's husband, Armand, is here. Our former president of our board is here tonight, and I'd like for just a moment to acknowledge and give a newly logoed Legacy Society pin to Armand, if you'd go over. We also received very generous bequests from Thomas Bone as well as a very lovely lady named Breeze Tomek. Breeze found a lot of solace in the Bailey Homestead and particularly its Shipley Trail as her health declined. We weren't able to know her, but her sister painted a wonderful photograph for me and for our membership coordinator, Gwenda, to understand what this organization meant, and she then subsequently recognized it in her estate. So we are posthumously recognizing Breeze as well as Thomas tonight. And as I say all the time, that always makes us a little sad when that happens because we didn't have the opportunity to say thank you when they were still with us. There are three other supporters of the endowments we would like to share with you tonight. The first is Jill and John Kirkpatrick. They are being inducted in absentia for a very good reason. They are volunteering with Samaritan's Purse tonight and said there was no time for them to stop working and get cleaned up to be here. So we'll say thank you to them another time. The second who also can't be with us is Peter Siegenthaler. Peter is Sally Siegenthaler-Lichtenstein's brother, and in the course of helping her bequest, made it clear to us for the first time that he too has remembered SCCF in his will, and we were so happy to receive that amazing news. And finally, and perhaps this is their first meeting as well, Lisa Hagerman is here, and I would invite her to come forward to be with James for her family's induction at this time. With her parents, George and Audrey, who are here with us tonight, Lisa has formed Lisa with George and Audrey formed the Daniel P. Hagerman Foundation in memory of her brother. And their foundation has made its first gift to the SCCF endowment, and for that we are honored to induct them into the Legacy Society this evening. Thank you, Lisa. And as always, if there's anyone here who'd like to know more about the Legacy Society or would like to give us the opportunity to say thank you, please feel free to let me know. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you all of our SCCF Society Legacy members and all of you tonight that were awarded and inducted into the Legacy Society. Thank you so much. One more. Thank you so much. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the SCCF board nominees. I'm going to invite Gwenda Hyatt Clemens to come up to the podium. Gwenda?
Thank you.
you go.
Okay, and this is the go forward one.
That is
right?
the go forward one, the orange one.
Thank you.
Get those out of your way.
Okay, thank you very much. You'll notice that my photo is unlike many of them. Everybody else has this really sophisticated personal shot, photoshopped probably. But anyway, this was taken at the first sea turtle nest of the season on the East End. And thank you, Kelly, for taking that photo and sharing it over and over and over again. So we shall move on. Okay, I would like to, first of all, thank my fellow board of nominee committee members who are here and two who are not. I was honored to head this committee this year and would like to introduce, I think that Chip Roach is here. Chip, okay, hi, and Linda Euler is here up front. And then also Laura Schaefer and Dick Pyle. And I got a text from one of my friends on Sanibel, and she said, "Don't think I'll make it." She was still stuck at the community house trying to get off the island. So that could possibly be why some of those Sanibel folks are not here. So anyway, our job is to come up with nominees for the coming year for the board. And SCCF's board is a working board, an involved board. Each member contributes his or her time and talent and truly knows the organization and believes in its mission. And each year we choose nominees who can contribute to the organization in a meaningful and necessary way. So with a new chief on board this year, we felt that this year's nominated trustees needed to contribute a depth of institutional knowledge and experience to plan for the future and meet the growing organization's challenges. We had no idea just what those challenges would be. But, so we have selected some familiar faces, some previous board members, and one new representative from Captiva. You've received detailed information about them online, but I just wanted to take a look at each one of them and give you a little bit of insight into what they are going to contribute to this board. So the first familiar face is John Morse. And John is here. He's up front with his wife, Kay. And he's been on the board from 2014 to 2019 and served as vice president for 2 terms and president. So John contributes his legal background. He's a former private and then corporate lawyer, and his knowledge and advice has been extremely valuable to SCCF on innumerable occasions. And in addition to that legal expertise, he's always there for a good joke, whether you want it or not. Thank you, John. And Mary Ellen Pfeiffer, who's here, Mary Ellen, up here with her husband, Eric, is also a former board member of SCCF. Mary Ellen is a true Sanibel Island girl who's been coming to Sanibel since she was 5 years old and then came full circle. Oh, do you want to see her? There. Sorry. Came full circle by raising her own family here. She brings to the board her knowledge of the island and its families, and also her educational background in biology and biochemistry. She worked tirelessly on revamping the intern housing, and it looks like you might get to do it again. Thank you, Mary Ellen. Okay, next is a new face, and this is Lisa Riordan, and she brings to the board her devotion and knowledge of Captiva, her retirement home now after having first visited over 40 years ago. She's immersed herself in the community and planning for its future, and by serving on her homeowners board, the Captiva Memorial Library, and the Captiva Civic Association. She will be an outstanding voice for Captiva on the SCCF board. Also, her background in negotiating
collective bargaining agreements between labor unions and corporations might come in handy during strategic planning. Okay, and our final nominee is a very familiar face, Doug Reichman, there with his lovely wife Chris. And the final, I tell you, Doug is a former SCCF board treasurer, vice president, and president. And as a CPA, he's been instrumental in SCCF's financial planning. He also brings outstanding leadership and management skills from being the CEO of hospitals and as a managing partner in health services and government industry groups. And his organizational skills are unparalleled. No human being can make a better organizational chart than Doug Reichman. And those are our 4 nominees. I would like to make or ask for a vote of affirmation to accept this slate. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. And welcome back, and welcome to Lisa. Now, also, to ensure further stabilization of the organization during this critical time, the current board of directors passed a resolution allowing the retention of 4 retiring trustees until the end of this fiscal year. And we are going to retain Don Rice, Rand Niehoff, Sandy Gross, and Tom Limonati. So I don't think any of them were able to be with us tonight. I know that I've had texts from Sandy, and so they're all very happy to be returning to the board. Okay. And the final thing, the nominating committee is also putting forth this slate of officers for the coming year. The proposed officers are Ann Nobles, President, Doug Reichman, Vice President, John Rao, Treasurer, and Megan Doss, Secretary. The new Board of Directors, which meets tomorrow, will vote to accept that slate of officers. Okay, thank you to everyone, and I'll be turning the meeting back over to James.
Thank you, Gwenda. Great presentation, and for the record, my image there was not photoshopped. So I also want to recognize Councilman Mike Miller. He came in while we were going through the presentations. Mike, where are you? All right, thank you for being here tonight. And I think, have we had any other elected officials come in since we started? All right, I think we're good. All right, excellent. So Guy Vertali, a software engineer and self-proclaimed tinkerer, said that persistence and resilience only come from having been given the chance to work through difficult problems. Our communities faced immense challenges following Hurricane Ian. It has tested our strength, our endurance, our relationships and partnerships, and our commitment to the very plans that shape our Barrier Island communities and protect our wildlife and natural habitats. I could not be more proud of our communities and the work that you are all doing together to protect and recover this special place, our paradise in Southwest Florida. Following Hurricane Ian, our staff, our SCCF family, our staff, had to pivot from our traditional conservation mission to a humanitarian mission. Despite dealing with significant challenges in their own lives, with over 1/3 of our staff being displaced from their own homes, our dedicated staff immediately began coming out to the islands and working remotely to support our recovery efforts on the islands. The day after the storm, our staff hit the ground running, partnering with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the city of Sanibel. We began running missions with the research vessel Norma Campbell, from port comfort to transport equipment and supplies to Sanibel Island. Once on island, we realized that most of our vehicles stored at Habitat Management were untouched by floodwaters. We distributed several trucks to Sanibel Fire to assist first responders in their rescue and recovery efforts, and other vehicles were provided to the refuge and other partners to aid in their recovery efforts. In the initial days of recovery, staff assisted first responders, transporting evacuees to shuttles leaving the islands, provided water and other supplies to first responders and others conducting damage assessment, and worked with the city to help rescue pets left behind in people's homes. I want to thank Fire Chief Kevin Barbeau and Sanibel Police Chief Bill Dalton for their heroic efforts. Our first responders have been amazing. And I also want to thank the city of Sanibel for working at lightning speed to work with our county, our state, and our federal agencies to get the causeway rebuilt, to get all of the resources that we need to build our community at breakneck speed. Thank the city of Sanibel. I want to thank Dana Souza and his team. I know we have Holly Milbrand here with the city tonight. I want to give you guys a round of applause. You've done an amazing job. We've already given recognition to the city council. Now it's staff's turn. Once the residents and businesses began coming back to the islands, we shifted our focus from supporting first responders to assisting residents and businesses. Our staff helped remove appliances and other household items from flood-damaged homes and carried vegetation and other debris to the curb from homes and businesses. Working long days in harsh conditions, they moved through it with a smile. And I went backwards. No smiles there because they're masked up because they're working in moldy conditions, but you get the point. I don't think that you could ask for a better team building experience. And it has been such an honor to be able to serve our community with this incredibly intelligent, hardworking, and dedicated group of people. During the recovery efforts, our Marine Lab staff continued to do water quality research. And you can see this image here. Dr. Eric Milbrandt is located there on the right side of the image, along with Kelly Johnson, who is, I don't think, here tonight, but she's there as well. They were out doing work, collecting samples for red tide. And of course, our C-School have already gotten back to work. Our C-School staff have been doing off-island programs for our homeschool programs. So we are back to work. We are still continuing with our recovery efforts, but we are back to work. And at this time, I want to ask all of our staff to stand. Most of you are already standing. Raise your hands. How about that? Raise your hands. Because throughout this entire process, they have been absolutely amazing. The morale within this group is amazing given the conditions they were working in. They've been helping our neighbors, our friends, our partners. And I just can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. You guys are amazing and you deserve the world. And thank you so much for all that you do. Again, thank you. You know, and unfortunately, like most of our neighbors and friends, SCCF also suffered significant losses during the storm. And I want to take just a few minutes to walk you through some of the impacts to our facilities. And I'm going to start at the east end of the island, and I'm going to kind of move to the west, starting with the Sanibel C-School. Both the front Sanibel C-School building as well as the Kennedy building took on a lot of water, approximately 2 to 3 feet. And of course, that required us to remediate and remove paneling, drywall, and other materials within the buildings. Lost most of the contents in both of those buildings. But fortunately, we have insurance on those buildings, and we will be able to build those back. And we have our contractor, Benchmark, who we just signed contracts with this week. They're moving forward very quickly. After our remediation contractor finished up a couple weeks ago, we'll be moving forward full steam ahead to rebuild these buildings, and hopefully in the next few months, we will have the Sanibel C-School back up and in action. And I know we have many of our C-School staff here tonight. But in addition to the work they're doing with our homeschool programs, they're also doing a lot of research right now to figure out how we can start to bring programs back to the islands. And that's working with Captiva Cruises and some of our other partners to figure out how we can start to provide some support for our island families. Whether you're on Sanibel or Captiva, we're looking for ways to help provide some relief and education for your children so that they can learn and enjoy and love the ocean like many of the folks that have already attended Sanibel Sea School. So we're working on that now. So thank you, Shannon, and all of your staff at Sanibel Sea School. You guys do an amazing job, and I couldn't be more proud of the work that you do at Sanibel Sea School. Moving right along to the Bailey Homestead. We talked a little bit about the pavilion, which weathered the storm very well. Some of the other buildings did take on significant amounts of water. We're going to have to rebuild. We're going to have to move the electric panels up. Of course, they did flood. Once we get electric up, we're going to be able to start getting that facility up. We hope within the next couple of months. We've had all of the remediation work completed. Thanks to Jenny Evans's recommendations, we've been able to save all of the floors except for the ones that the Hammerheads installed. Unfortunately, those weren't the historic floors. They didn't make it through the storm, but we will replace them. Replace those floors, hopefully in the spirit of the construction of the original floors. But the Bailey Homestead did very well. With no insulation in the walls, all we had to do was open up some panels, vent those panels. There'll be some work to do, don't get me wrong, but I think we're going to be able to recover that facility relatively quickly, and hopefully we'll be able to have an event very soon there. I know everybody's chomping at the bit to get together and enjoy an event at that homestead. So we're working on that. Unfortunately, our Ruth Brooks propagation facility, the photo on the lower right-hand corner of the slide there shows you the new propagation facility, which has now been flattened, unfortunately. We will rebuild that at some point, but that is a project that we've added to our capital improvement projects list. So unfortunately, that was sacrificed as a result of the storm. Moving on to our temporary headquarters building. This is a building that we've been leasing for a short-term lease, which has turned into a little long-term lease. But a short-term lease located in an elevated building just to the east of Jerry's grocery store. And fortunately, that building actually did pretty well during the storm, and we are actually back in there working today. As of last week, we moved in on Monday, and we're working out of there now. We're trying to get Wi-Fi like everybody else on the islands, but right now we do have power, we have air conditioning, and so it's actually a pretty nice place to work. And we were able to get that lease extended again until the end of March, when we hope to move into our new headquarters building. The Marine Lab sustained some damage, not too much, fortunately. It was built to current flood codes and FEMA standards. We did see the roof was impacted, and of course, 2 days after the storm, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service was able to get out there on their lift. They're probably the only ones on the island that had a lift. 2 days after the storm, they were able to repair the roof, and we have some siding damage, and of course, there's a lot of scour on the bay side between the mangroves and the building, but that can all be easily repaired. So we're happy to report that the Marine Lab is up and functioning. We have power there, we have water, and Eric and his staff are able to conduct research as we speak. Success. We do have some very positive things that have come out of this hurricane. It's made us much more resilient. The question is, how strong do we really need to be with all of the challenges that we're facing? As we move west, we have the Wilmoth Cottage, which was donated by the Wilmoth family. That cottage used to house our visiting scientists. So when we had our partners coming from the University of Florida or other partners throughout the state coming to do work on our islands, they would stay at the Wilmoth Cottage. Unfortunately, due to the amount of flood and wind damage to that cottage, it's more than likely going to be a complete loss because of the FEMA 50% rule. So we're looking at other opportunities, other options for housing visiting scientists in the future, and we'll be working with our board. And of course, we have continuity with our existing board members staying on until June, so it'll be part of that planning process. So we're excited to move into the next chapter and rethink what our visiting scientist housing might look like in the future. The headquarters building. So as you all know, we were under a major remodel at the headquarters building. about a $1.6 million remodel, which we were hoping to break ground, or we were hoping to do ribbon cutting on sometime in January. That deadline did get pushed back a little bit. Unfortunately, we're not going to meet that deadline. But more than likely, we should be able to do a ribbon cutting sometime in late May. Hopefully by the end of May, we'll be able to open this new facility. But this will house many of our different departments, and we're excited about that. The good news is the contractor, Benchmark Contracting, was able to pick up where they left off. They're going to put up that southeast wall that blew in during the storm and essentially pick up right where they left off. So we're happy to report that we're not going to take on or incur too many new expenses with that building, and we hopefully will be able to keep moving forward and again, complete that project sometime in March. Although we did have some of the outbuildings on the property that were damaged. The old nursery native landscapes and garden building located, you'll see the image in the lower middle there, where I think that's, looks like Victor Young walking away from the building. That was completely flooded. We had about 6 to 7 feet of water in that facility, so that's more than likely going to be a complete loss under the 50% rule as well. So we're trying to come up with options and looking at a reconfiguration to rebuild some facilities to support our coastal wildlife department. Kelly Sloan and her staff need additional facilities, so we're looking at this as an opportunity to expand some of the coastal wildlife facilities, creating a necropsy lab for sea turtles so we can continue to do more research. And I think it's going to really support the work we already do. So we're excited about that as that opportunity as well. And, you know, the building that was probably impacted the most, and I know Deborah and Mary Ellen, I know you're heartbroken about this, but unfortunately our intern housing really was hit hard by the storm. The eastern building lost a good portion of its roof and flooded significantly. That's the images on the bottom there. But the building to the west took a direct hit, and we only have a few walls standing there. So unfortunately, we're more than likely going to have to rethink how we do intern housing. It may provide some opportunities working with our partners on the island to do something bigger and grander as we move forward. So again, we have to look at this as an opportunity. And I know I will be looking to Deborah and Mary Ellen and some of our other partners and our supporters to help with that rebuild. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about our coastal wildlife and habitat management building. Originally, we were going to tear this building down and build visiting scientist housing or intern housing on this site. After the storm, it made us rethink that a little bit. This building was untouched by floodwaters, and all of the vehicles that are in the building, as well as all of them that were parked on what we affectionately call Hammerhead Hill, because it was piled up as a recommendation by the Hammerheads to bring in fill that was being generated from a project on the island. We brought that in when Eric Lindblad was the CEO of the organization, created this massive mound, and then on top of that, we created our habitat management building. It worked. And fortunately, because of that building and where we parked the vehicles, we had vehicles to donate to our first responders in their recovery efforts. And so thank you, Eric, for your foresight and smart planning, because that has helped us in our recovery efforts. Although everything at that site was not unscathed, we did lose our John Deere tractor that was donated by Ann Nobles, as well as a lot of the equipment that was on the lower pad, which unfortunately was flooded during the event. We also had, there's a bit of a lag there, sorry. We also had a lot of our equipment and many of our vehicles that were at the Sanibel Sea School also damaged, well, destroyed by floodwaters that came up at the Sanibel Sea School. We lost 6 vehicles. All of our passenger vans that were used to take all of our students to the beach or transport them off island or bring kids from the Heights Foundation or Heights Elementary on the island to learn about our ocean those vehicles were damaged and destroyed during the storm. We had insurance on them, and we're waiting to see what kind of payments we'll get from insurance, and we'll be replacing those here soon so that we can get those students back out to the beach and get them out to the wild areas and learn about the great work we do. We also lost a lot of the equipment, and I mentioned that earlier, on the pad at Habitat Management, but we also lost the Ripple Effect, which is our Sea School boat. You can see it there in a tree on the upper left, as well as we lost all of our Native Landscapes and Garden Center vehicles that are used to transport plants to homes when we're doing house calls and things like that. We're working furiously to replace those. So I know there are a lot of people that want native plants, and I know Jenny and her team are working right now to obtain new vehicles. So, and I know Jeff has been the lead on all of our insurance. And Jeff, sorry, I know you're pulling your hair out, although you do have a lot of it. Throughout this insurance nightmare that we've been dealing with. So Jeff, thank you for everything that you're doing. You've been amazing throughout this whole process. Can't thank you enough. You've been my right-hand man throughout this, and everybody, all of our staff have been absolutely amazing. So I just want to, we have been planning for some new capital projects, of course, over the next 3 years, but Ian has accelerated that. And I know our staff is probably sick of me saying this, but we need to continue to look for the silver linings. We view Hurricane Ian as more of an opportunity, a silver lining, if you will, than a hardship, and we will build back better than before the storm. I guarantee you that. And that'll be because of your support, the amazing staff we have working in our organization, and our amazing partners that will allow us to come back stronger than we were before the storm. That being said, as we rebuild our communities, it is critical that we take into account the impacts of climate change. Rising seas and more intense, more frequent storm events will continue to shape the future of our communities. We must rebuild in a way that not only takes into account our infrastructure, making it more resilient to climate change, but also protects the unique wildlife habitats and the character of our barrier island sanctuaries. We can't move forward building a seawall around our islands. We need to rebuild in the spirit of the Sanibel Plan and the Captiva Community Plan and ensure that our wildlife will also be here for generations as we hope to inhabit these islands. I think it's really important just take a moment to think about that. You see this image here on the screen. The majority of Sanibel Island is green. And that's because of all of you, Eric, our past leaders of SCCF, our past board members, our past board presidents, the leadership that has come from this organization that have worked with our partners at Ding Darling, Jay and Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge, the City of Sanibel, our other partners at the Bailey Matthews Shell Museum, as well as Crow, all working together to conserve and protect the resources of these special islands. And I think it's just important to pause and think about that. As we rebuild, we must rebuild in the spirit of those plans. And I am getting ready to conclude, so I won't be going on too much longer. But I hope that you've received your online version of this annual report. And this is the one that I just received in my mailbox today before I came to the meeting. And hopefully the print copy will be in your mailbox when you get home tonight. Please know we have some available here in the back of the room where Jeff, can you point at them? Is that Rick? All right, back there in the back of the room we have some print copies available. So if you didn't receive your copy, grab a copy on your way out tonight. I want to thank the Bank of the Islands and Edison National Bank for underwriting its production costs again this year. Thank you, Robbie and Jeff Repstorff. And I encourage you to find some time to read through the SCCF accomplishments of the last year. I only gave you just a sample of some of the accomplishments this year. If you want to really dig in and find out what we've been up to, read the annual report. And you'll learn a little bit about, there was an insert that was put into that annual report after Hurricane Ian so that we could recognize some of the efforts that we've been working on during Hurricane Ian and, of course, the hardships that you've all experienced. If that inspires you, please consider supporting us again between now and next June. That's our fiscal year. There's a quote in the annual report, and I'd like to read that right now. All right. So speaking for our entire staff, none of us thinks of what we do as just a job. We love the work we do for the land, water, and wildlife we all cherish. And we're so grateful to our supporters who show they love it too. Thank you for showing your support, and please enjoy the episode of The Rebuild that was inspired by SCCF's Boots on the Ground community efforts. Thank you for being here tonight.